Republicans are terrified as they continue to see Democrats overperforming in special elections and in state legislature races across this country. The MAGA Republicans are trying to figure out how do they deal with the fact that there was the largest peaceful mass protest in the history of the United States in big cities, small cities, medium-sized towns, tiny towns across the country of people who were just fed up. And they said, we've had enough of this regime taking away our health care, making things far more expensive, giving $40 billion to Argentina while bankrupting our farmers, bragging about the gold in the Oval Office, bragging about 90,000 square foot golden ballrooms, while the American people are suffering every single day. And the response by MAGA Republicans is, what are you talking about? This is the golden age for you. Aren't you thriving? And Americans are like, nah, this is not what you promised. You are a bunch of fraudsters. You are a bunch of liars. That's what we saw, the peaceful message coming out of the No Kings protest. We don't want kings. We don't like what's going down. Democrats, Republicans, independents are saying that. So what did MAGA Mike Johnson do during his press conference earlier in the day? MAGA Mike said, congratulations, he didn't burn buildings down. They're still going after this like ridiculous, the Democrats are the party of burning buildings down. Like, y'all are the party of the insurrectionists. What are you, y'all the party that are covering up the Epstein files. Here, play this clip of MAGA Mike.
And when they go the next step and they call for violence on political officials in an environment that is already a heightened threat environment, it's dangerous stuff. They had the right to do it. Congratulations, they didn't burn any buildings down. That's a big achievement for the left to have some kind of gathering.
All right, then you had Chip Roy, MAGA Republican Congress member from Texas, like, hey, step aside, MAGA Mike. And I don't think the Republicans are capable of even doing a sentence without just sounding incredibly creepy. So he's saying he's criticizing the Democrats, but then like talks about like the dying breast of bankrupt. Well, I don't even know what he's talking about. Like, who are these people? Here, play this clip.
This is the dying breast of a bankrupt party, in my humble opinion. All too happy to shut down the government and then have a Chicago teacher
dying breath. Who comes up? What are these people? Y'all are the ones who are shutting down the government because you refuse to extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies to Americans. And let's say a couple making $80,000, current monthly premiums are $400 a month. They're going to be paying $2,500 a month, and they're going to go bankrupt, lose their health insurance, and potentially die as a result of what you're doing. People know why we're in a government shutdown. It's because Trump, who controls all aspects of the government, likes this shutdown. He wants to rip away people's health care so that he could then do all of the evil and nefarious things that he is doing, and he wants to hide the Epstein files as well, and he views the government shutdown as a way to do that. This is what Johnson says. He goes, what these people are advocating for, it's so un-American. Healthcare to live, education, cheaper groceries. Really, MAGA Mike? Here, play this clip.
And the idea that communists would be supporting this is unconscionable to us. Look, when we give tours of the House chamber, and we bring in constituents, and we point out all the historical facts and images around the building. I always start with "In God We Trust," which of course is right above the rostrum of the speaker's podium. And if you look in the visitor's guide to the House chamber, it says on page 14, when was that put there? Well, it's put there in the early 60s, 1961, as I recall, and it says in the guide that it was put there. Congress voted to put that there as a rebuke to the Cold War era Soviets. Why? Because their philosophy, that's what it says, a rebuke to their philosophy.
Well, MAGA Mike, Donald Trump's out there, we'll talk about Soviets, yelling at Zelensky in the Oval Office last week, saying, give up all of Donbass to Putin. Let Putin take your land. Trump's planning to meet with Putin again in Hungary with Viktor Orban, another Putin bootlicker. That's kind of, I don't know, you don't see the irony that you're literally the pro-Russian party right now. Oh, and then you have MAGA Mike Johnson attacking Adelita Grijalva, who he refuses to swear in and says, she's too busy making TikTok videos instead of actually working. Well, MAGA Mike, you're refusing to swear her in to work. What are you talking about? I mean, there's sociopaths. Here, play this clip.
I will administer the oath to her, I hope on the first day we come back, legislative session. I'm willing and anxious to do that. In the meantime, instead of doing TikTok videos, she should be serving her constituents. She could be taking their calls. She can be directing them, trying to help them through the crisis that the Democrats have created by shutting down the government.
So you're criticizing her for making TikTok videos while you don't swear her in, while Donald Trump was making AI videos of himself defecating, literally taking poops on peaceful protesters, making AI videos of that, shitting on the American people. MAGA Mike was asked about that, but for that, MAGA Mike goes, that's satire. That's funny. Here, play this clip.
I mean, it's unconscionable. Look, America is built on the idea of free speech. You have the right to protest. Of course, we jealously guard that. I mean, Chip and I are attorneys. We defended that right in the courts. But what they're doing right now is different. They are trying to incite violence. It's not funny. You don't mock a president who has already had 2 failed assassination attempts on his life.
Senator Johnson, you say that the Democrats had a Hate America rally, but what does it say that the President of the United States over the weekend released a video of him pooping on the American people?
The president uses social media to make a point. You can argue he's probably the most effective person who's ever used social media for that. He is using satire to make a point. He is not calling for the murder of his political opponents, and that's what these people are doing.
No, they're not. It's not what they're doing, and it's not funny that the president of the United States posts videos of himself defecating on human beings. I mean, it's the president of the United States here. I want to bring in the president of the DLCC, the Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee, which is the official Democratic Party committee dedicated to winning the fight for America's state legislatures. It's where fight is taking place. We see how important it is there. I frame that, though, because the Republican state legislatures, Heather, they are focused on just parroting those same talking points that we see there over and over again, while at least in the races that I've been following very closely on the Democratic side, where you see overperformance, Democrats are focused on issues that matter to the people. I think that's what's at stake as we approach these elections in the next 2 weeks. What do you make of everything?
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing in the States is a copycat, right? A copycat of federal Republicans, of this way that MAGA Republicans have been. And folks are not standing for that. Voters are not accepting that. They're not accepting this as the path forward. Maybe some of them dabbled in it. Maybe some of them were curious. But the reality is that this administration, and frankly, Republicans up and down the ballot, are leaving people behind. They're governing for one small portion of the country. They're leaving everyone else behind. And we've got state legislators out there in these special elections, as you've been saying, and in every race that's on the ballot in November, out there making their case in their districts, or in the districts they hope to represent, for a new path forward. And it's working.
I spoke to a former chair of the FCC, and I asked him, said, do you see hope? He goes, Ben, let me tell you one of the reasons I see hope, though. He goes, no one used to know what my job was when I was the chair of the FCC, and now people understand what the FCC does. So people are actually paying attention now to the fact that government needs to function. And I think people took for granted that you had civil servants and people who were public servants who were devoting their lives to the public good. And now I think they're seeing at a very basic level, when that's ripped apart, the social fabric and the connections that allow civil society to function and allow things to actually take place. They go away if you don't have actual people dedicated to their jobs. And so, all of this ranting and raving about whether they're eating your dogs, they're eating your cats, let's talk about, I think it was the Speaker of the Virginia House. He was telling me about the House races there, Speaker Scott. And he was like, they're like the poo-poo and pee-pee party. Like, they want to talk about bathrooms, and like, we're just trying to talk about like healthcare and people's lives. And I think that's what we've seen in the elections, where there's been massive overperformance by Democrats.
Yeah, I think that's right. And, Virginia is such a prime example of this, a place where, Medicaid expansion, where there's support, there's tons of veterans and obviously a very large military base. So many of our federal workers who do this work to ensure that we've got clean air and clean water and a good environment to raise our families in, live in the state. And I think we're definitely seeing the impact of the way that Trump and Republicans are treating our government, but also seeing that, like, if you can't take this away from me, right? Like, this is part of our community, or this has been, a healthcare that I've had, like, I'm reliant on it. And that is really sinking in. We're seeing it take hold in Virginia and across these races across the country.
Talk to us about the data that you've seen in these special elections, because they all seem to, at the state level especially, because every time we see one of them, the media tends to be like, another shocker in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, another shocker in Nebraska. And look, yes, it is when there's an overperformance in plus 20, plus 40 Trump districts. But at some point when you see a pattern develop and you're following the data, at least the way we report it here on the MeidasTouch, it's less of a shocker. I'm not trying to take for granted anything but we are seeing themes and patterns develop amongst independent voters, the enthusiasm of Democrats. Can you talk through that?
Yeah, I agree, right? Like, one on its own can be sort of a spark, if you will. But to put it into context, we saw different results at this ballot level in 2024 than we did at the top of the ticket. We were able to hold in places and even pick up some success points. We are building on that. Candidates at this ballot level are in their communities. They still live there. They're still talking to voters every single day. And they heard what voters asked for. They asked for elected officials who thought about their community, who paid attention to the economic context that they were dealing with, prices, and a future that was brighter for them. And that, I think, has been the thing that our candidates have been focusing on. So when you layer it all together, we see this overperformance in specials in, frankly, red states, blue states, and purple states. We see candidates that are of their community, not career politicians, that are middle class, like representative folks running for office. And it is a model for success. We've seen 3 Trump districts flip this year, double-digit Trump districts. We've protected 5 legislative majorities already. We broke the supermajority, the Republican supermajority in Iowa. And we're 2 weeks out from an election where we have a pretty interesting map of opportunities in Virginia to protect and build on that majority, to protect that majority in New Jersey, to think about redistricting in the context of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court races and Prop 50 in California. And to break a supermajority down in Mississippi. So good things are happening at this ballot level. And I think when people get involved, when they pay attention, they can have a real impact, and they can go to DLCC.org to learn more about all of these candidates on the ballot, but also the ones who we will see coming up in 2026.
That's what I was going to ask you. Read my mind, Heather. What should people be focused on? There are some big elections taking place in the next 2 weeks. We often hear about the top of the ticket, the governor's races, but, there are state legislature races. When I spoke to Speaker Scott in Virginia, for example, he said all 50 seats in the House of Delegates is up for re-election. And that's something that we see in a lot of other states. So what should people be focused on? What can they do as well?
Yeah, I think this is such a great question and such a reminder that the state legislative ballot level is so important in its own right. What happens in our states deeply impacts our lives and the lives of our family and our community members. But I think more broadly, what happens at this ballot level also affects up ticket, right? Governors pass their agenda through the legislature. We are really excited about the Spanberger campaign in Virginia, and we are going to be excited to deliver her a strong majority in the Virginia House. Likewise, in New Jersey, we are excited about protecting our legislative majority there so that when we have a new governor, and Mikey Sherrill, right, that she has the power to move forward an agenda on behalf of all people across New Jersey. These are layered impacts, and the impact of the state legislature on our congressional maps, on our voting laws, on the path to the presidency is so deep. So I think that's one thing to remember as, you may be getting involved or you may be curious about this ballot level and thinking about, where you see the most important sort of backstop to Trump or where you see the most important opportunity. The races in your backyard are critically important. We've got them all around the country. We're rounding out this election here in 2025 and quickly approaching, the candidate recruitment and candidate filing deadlines in all of our 2026 states.
And Heather, one more time, what's the name of the website that you want people to check out?
So you can find our spotlight candidates on dlcc.org. And if you're interested in redistricting, you can head to demsonredistricting.org.
Heather Williams, president of the DLCC. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.